Number one Ibble Dibble here. Hello, hi, how are you?
Good job.
This video is part 3 of Megan's Floptastic Flaws, a series in which I discuss all the personal shortcomings that will prevent Megan from being successful in marketing consumer goods, at least for now. In video 1, I discussed Megan's low taste level and lack of likability, and in video 2, I covered her inability to network effectively. In this video, I want to talk about Megan's snobbery and explain why, though snobbery can work in boosting sales, she's doing it wrong. What is a snob? One who snubs. What is snobbery? Habitually engaging in the practice. Is Megan a snob? Clearly. Narcissism, a condition marked by grandiosity, a need for admiration, and a preoccupation with power and prestige, creates arch snobs. Who is she snubbing? Incredibly, illogically, hilariously, you! Insofar as you, the demographic that typically views my channel, are her potential customers. This is where Megan really gets interesting to me. I think on some level she knows that she's always shooting herself in the foot. But back to snobs in general, there are two paramount differences between snobs and narcissists. First, though rarefied tastes are not essential to snobbery, they are strongly associated with it, whereas narcissism exists among people of all levels of wealth, education, and status relative to their own communities and microcultures. Second, where narcissists exist across a spectrum of irrational entitlement and true malice, snobs are condescending and cruel in smaller ways that, in the right context, can be forgiven and even seen as charming over time. When Marco Pierre White criticizes another chef's cooking, for example, it really could not be truer or funnier, though you or I would probably have no problem eating the food. And that's the difference between a good snob and a bad snob. A good snob may be rude and hurtful in their discernment or exclusivity, but we know or suspect they are right. We just resent the expression. A bad snob does not judge in a qualitative manner, but snubs purely to service their own delusions of grandeur or entertain themselves by upsetting their victims and creating chaos. Part of what makes Megan's snobbery so appalling is that she's a bad snob. It's the reason why, instead of feeling badly for a woman who wasted her money on an ill-suited, very overpriced wardrobe, we mock her. She wasn't trying to do her best wearing that stuff, but ended up looking a mess, perhaps because her purview was limited by more than a bit of snobbery. If you want fashion photo evidence of that mistake, take a look at the York sisters throughout the 2010s. Megan was wearing that stuff specifically to flex on the local pores, with the goal not of looking appropriate or fashionable, just richer than they are. A terrible snob. Likewise, as many of you pointed out in the final video of my Don't Merch the Title Megs series, Meg can't present herself as a lovable villain because she has no sense of humor. Again, she's just a bad snob. A good snob knows many people perceive them as laughably insane, but maintains their standards nonetheless, and can fight about it and joke about it. Megan, on the other hand, flipped what was very likely a single joke about a little orphan Annie ginger fro she heard secondhand into an international incident with legal and diplomatic repercussions. So what does this have to do with American Riviera Orchard? Megan exhibits what psychologists call high social dominance orientation, the genuine belief that some groups of people are innately superior to others and should therefore hold more power in society. Snobs might prefer stratified class systems to egalitarian ones, or those allowing for greater social mobility, but narcissists believe they're entitled to arrive at their rightful place atop the social pile by any means necessary. Snobs don't like to associate with anyone they see as inferior, but narcissists believe they have the right to exploit and abuse perceived inferiors. Snobs and narcissists both have higher self-esteem than others and much thinner skin, but where a snob might just feel more hurt by criticism or rejection than you or I, a narcissist will believe they're due limitless revenge for such a snub and immediately commence exacting it. Megan, in her fury, jealousy, and resentment of both British high society and Hollywood, who have, I think it's fair to say after so many years, undeniably scorned her, is in turn snubbing who she can. The only people who pay attention to her. Us, kind of. In her narcissism, she believes all of us plebes already owe her our money and are really asking too much that she provide a good or service in exchange for it. So instead, she'll make a big show of offering a social media account, but leaving it bare, putting up a promo video, but making it disappear in 24 hours, opening an email sign-up list, but then only gifting product to celebrities, and finally, having the audacity to not only think she can buy those celebrities as friends for a jar of jam, but also poach their followers and insult them personally by numerically ranking them from most to least important on the very labels. At a glance, it may all just look like an outdated PR strategy, but a closer look reveals the most ass-backwards, shocking, antisocial fail I've seen possibly ever. She's literally labeling and ranking people. Her big product launch is at best a Freudian slip, at worst a passive-aggressive power play. It's the marketing equivalent of a man giving his postpartum depressed wife a scale and a vacuum for Christmas. And even more perverse than imagining the celebrity recipients of her jam are too dumb to see she's negging them, she believes we the public will admire this behavior and line up begging, nay, competing for the next batch of worthless nonsense she deigns to sell, if she chooses to sell it, simply so we in turn can posture on social media and snub anyone watching. Gross, but also ineffective. A generally well-received meta-analysis of previous studies published 10 years ago in the Journal of Consumer Research, titled "Should the Devil Sell Prada? Retail Rejection Increases Aspiring Consumers' Desire for the Brand" by Morgan Ward, if you want to look it up, established that rejection encourages people to elevate their perceptions of their rejectors and strengthens their predilection to affiliate with them, but that desire is only triggered when 5 conditions are met. And even when they are, diminishes, disappears, and then turns even into a predilection to disaffiliate over a relatively short period of time, mere weeks or months. The conditions are: 1, the rejection comes from an aspirational versus non-aspirational brand. I suppose we can go back and forth about this, but I would say American Riviera Orchard is simply too new a brand to be aspirational, and Duchess Jam is not in and of itself aspirational. Number 2, the consumer relates the brand to his or her ideal self-concept. I think Megan does have a fan base that views her as ideal and would like to be more like her. I don't know if they see high quality jams as essential to achieving that ideal. Based on my videos that they choose to view and leave absolutely insane comments on, they seem much more oriented towards outward appearances, fashion, beauty, that type of thing. Number 3, the consumer is unable to self-affirm before rejection. We can't see inside these people's worlds, who knows. Number 4, the salesperson delivering the threat reflects the brand. This is certainly the case. Megan is doing this personally. It's quite literally her handwriting on the labels. She is speaking this rejection with her whole chest. And number 5, the threat occurred recently. Yeah, so let's imagine there are people who have got to get this jam. She needs to sell this jam today. She needs to sell this jam yesterday. In 10 days, they'll have forgotten about the jam. She hasn't paced her threat plus rollout correctly. People seem to think the big Euro houses have become less discriminating because DEI, the democratization of luxury, social justice, yay. Actually, it's only because it's more profitable in the long term. Those short-term acquisition gains are still a huge part of developing emerging markets. You need look no farther than mainland China over the past decade to see how the brands actualize those gains. And the new, if you could even call it new, the research focus over the past decade has been on customer retention, doing everything possible after the fact to soften that blow, validate consumer affiliation, and keep the purchases flowing. Her brand is not at all ready for a limited edition drop, and Making a limited edition drop unpurchasable, not even by invitation, defeats the purpose. Limited edition drops are to service diehard fans, not build a customer base. Limited edition drops are for young people with time to stalk social media, not the grown-up busy women she claims to support and cater to. Limited edition drops are for fans of art and design, not people who for some reason can't drive to a farmer's market and find some jam. Madame seems to think she can deflect criticism that she personally is a terribly common bore by using artificial scarcity to sell a common, boring product. If you asked me to come up with the worst strategy possible, I'm not sure I could have envisioned this. She's so unlike her father-in-law, who wants to sell as much jam as possible to anyone who wants it for charity's sake. And we know where his jam is made, and we know eating it won't make us sick. We know he adhered to laws and standards in its production, because as a person, he adheres to laws and has standards. King Charles is certainly a snob about many things, but he's not a bad snob. And that makes all the difference. Okay, that's my rant for today. Let me know in the comments below if you're a secret snob, and if Megan's holier-than-thou followers are stupid enough to fall for this. Toodles! Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.